Something's wrong.
People out there, sir. Should we be issuing warnings now? Only when the boarding process is complete. That's the plan. British Columbia 2010, remember, sir? So those plans were drawn up 2 years ago.
Still has not been located. The ammonium nitrate was part of a 6,000-ton shipment from Alberta to Kinder Morgan's North Vancouver storage facility in the fall of 2009, although the discrepancy wasn't noticed until 2 months later. In an email statement today, Kinder Morgan pointed out there are many other links in the chain, including the bagging plant, the customer, and the receiving terminal. While the product was stored at Vancouver wharves, it was stored in a secure facility that meets Transport Canada's strict security guidelines. The fertilizer was manufactured by Agrium in Alberta. It was then shipped to a bagging facility owned by Dyno Nobel, also in Alberta. Dyno Nobel is an explosives company that serves the mining industry. Agrium says it's confident the 6,000 tons that left its plant arrived at Dyno Nobel's plant intact.
As part of the regulations and as part of Agrium's own process, every shipment of industrial-grade ammonium nitrate requires a receipt by the receiver that it actually arrived. And I can confirm that 100% of the 6,000 tons that left our plant was received at their receiving facility.
What happened after that is not clear. Dyno Nobel could not be reached for comment. In the wrong hands, ammonium nitrate can be deadly, a precursor for explosives. It is the preferred ingredient by terrorists. It's what the so-called Toronto 18 hoped to use to blow up key locations in Toronto. In less than a month, thousands of people will arrive in BC for the 2010 Winter Games. Still, the RCMP insists the threat level is low, and it has no intention of adjusting that threat level as a result of the missing ammonium nitrate. Lisa Rossington, CTV News, Vancouver.
Making a decision to stop any kind of disclosure from happening. So that's a very serious matter. So I feel pretty appalled, and I'm sure everybody else does too, because I think Canadians expect their members of Parliament to go back to Parliament, to continue working, to continue holding the government to account, and especially on this very important issue of the government's handling of the war in Afghanistan and the detainees.
All right, but let's say that's true, and you feel that to be true. What can you do about it?
Well, it's to prorogue the House is a unilateral decision. The Governor-General has agreed to that. So it makes it very difficult not being in the House. It means that the committee won't be able to sit. It means there won't be question period. Ironically, it also means that all of the government's own legislation will be eliminated, that they often accuse the opposition of holding up. They themselves have now killed their own legislative agenda. So I think what we have to do is to speak out and to make sure that Canadians are being heard, and to do everything we can to get to the truth of what's happened around the war in Afghanistan and the question of these detainees. I mean, we won't let up as New Democrats. I know that our members, Jack Harris and Paul Dewar, have been very active on this issue. They will continue to try and find out what has taken place here. We'll continue to call for an public inquiry, and we'll do everything we can to keep the pressure on Mr. Harper to represent the public interest here. And I think, it's a black mark for Canada that he's taken this extraordinary measure just before the Olympics, and we have to ask, what is it that he doesn't want the world to know? What is he trying to hide here by proroguing the House and stopping an inquiry and committees and the investigation on the war in Afghanistan from going ahead?
You can pick up again in March.
Well, but we have the Olympics in between, and I think it becomes very suspicious as to why he's made this decision now, just before the Olympics, when the world is arriving. The global media will be here in Vancouver. This story is only getting bigger in terms of what's been taking place in Afghanistan and Canada's involvement. And so, as I say, I think it's pretty appalling that he's taken this extraordinary measure to try and shut down all accountability and all questioning. I don't think that's going to happen because, as I say, we will do everything we can to get to the bottom of what happened here and hold this government to account. But he obviously doesn't want to face the opposition in Parliament. He doesn't want to face the Canadian Parliament.
I hear what you're saying, but reasonably, a couple of things. One is Dimitri Souda says this is because the government, they're doing this because they want to work on their economic development plan.
Excuses about the Senate or the economy. I mean, there's been an enormous amount of time to deal with those issues, and obviously the economy is an important issue, but all the more reason that Parliament should be sitting and dealing with the issue of the economy in an upcoming budget.
All right. NDP House Leader Libby Davies in Vancouver, thank you.
Thank you.
There, what they want done with the economy, and then come back, and then they will have this throne speech on March the 3rd.
Hannah, what's the reaction, if any, yet?
Well, it's interesting. I quickly called a constitutional expert on this and said, is this a good enough reason to prorogue Parliament? His response was he didn't think so, and that's because there are so many things going on in Parliament right now. When a Parliament prorogues, that means all the legislative agenda that they had in place at the time gets just tossed out. It's done. You have to start right from ground zero again. So he's saying there are a lot of important things that were actively going on in this Parliament.
With hundreds of thousands of visitors expected in 2010, tourism officials say security measures already get in the way for tourists now. But it appears the U.S. is putting some of those measures on hold. That would be welcome news for some tourist spots like Victoria.
Kind of galling when you realize that nutbags with the cardboard signs had a right to hold all these people out there, sir. So we'll be issuing warnings now. Only when the boarding process is complete. That's the plan. British Columbia 2010, remember, sir? British Columbia.